Hi everyone, Emily here from Emily's Excellent Epics, and today I have for you December 2025 reading wrap up. Wow, how is it January 1st, 2026? I don't know. I'm also feeling really sad because my winter break is almost over. I guess I can't complain too much, but January is just going to be a really, January has some good things planned for it. I have a weekend getaway with some girls from a Bible study / wine night group that I'm involved in. But I'm also going, January is about to be really busy at work. So 5 IEPs in a month. That's a lot. But so I'm hoping that January will also be good, productive reading month. I need it to be. But I know when things are busy at work, my brain just kind of wants mindless fluff when I come home from work. At any rate, let's get started with the December reading wrap up. So, I read 10 books this month, and I didn't write down the stats of like how many pages I read this month. I did that for like the year-end totals, but I didn't do that for this month. The year-end total is I read a total of 43,673 pages, or 121 books. And the average page count for books that average to be about 360 or 370 pages. So not really an epic, but that's okay. Like I was trying to knock out as much of like the smaller books for her kid, and chunky fantasy this fall has been not what my brain has wanted to read because this school year has been kind of has posed some challenges. That's okay. Teaching is hard. But let's get started with the books that I read this month, and then I will give you an update with how my numbers in my library are. Okay. So the first book I read this month was The Mistletoe Mystery by Nita Prose. And this is just a novella that comes after book 2, before book 3. It was cute. It was holiday themed. It was light. There isn't like a mystery per se, in that there's no dead body for Molly, our maid, to investigate why this person was murdered. It's just more, my boyfriend's acting weird. Why is he acting so weird? What's going on? And it's very obvious what's going on. Um, but Molly is just clueless. And it was just cute and delightful. So there's that. Then I read How My Neighbor Stole Christmas by Megan Quinn. And this is kind of a spoof on How the Grinch Stole Christmas. And it follows Cole, who his parents passed away in December from a car accident. And that same day, storyteller who visits her great aunt every year at Christmas time, she and her sister do. That same day, like, story kind of leaves the town of, I don't remember what the town's name was. Kringletown. She kind of leaves Kringletown. Fast forward now years later, Story's back in town. She needs to take care of her great aunt. Her great aunt broke her hip, and so she and her sister move into town to help take care of her aunt. And her aunt's like, you know what? I wanted to enter in this Christmas Kringle competition, and I can't because of my broken hip, but I want you to enter it. And so she does. And Cole has some feelings about Story, negative because of some things that have happened in the past. And he enters to compete against her. And I just really enjoyed this. It was fun. It was light. It was what I needed. And there is spice. The spice kind of takes over towards the second half, but there still was enough plot that kept me interested. Like if it was all spice, I would not have kept reading. I would put it down. It is pretty steamy. I would say 4 chili peppers. But I did enjoy the story. All right, then I finished Side Jobs by Jim Butcher now. I read 2 stories in here. What I've been doing with the Dresden Files is I've been slowly making my way through that series, and there are short stories that are released in Side Jobs, and then the other short story anthology collection is Briefcases. And there is a reading order that I found online that tells you like when you need to intersperse the stories in with the books, like what publication order they are. And there are a couple of stories in here that needed to be read before I read Ghost Story. So I read those. They were fine. They were fine. Like nothing significant, but I was just kind of like, yes, I finished another book. So. And then I read Grace and Henry's Holiday Movie Marathon by Matthew Norman. This was one of my Aardvark picks for the month, and I used this for the new releases prompt for Hardest Reading Challenge You'll Ever Do. And in this book, we follow a widow and a widower, and their spouses both died in December. And a year later, the mother of one of them tries to set them up. And so they meet and they become friends, and their friendship centers around different holiday movies. And so there's sections of the book that are titled those holiday movies. And I really liked this book. I love grieving characters, and I love grieving characters done well. There was a plot point that I wasn't too terribly happy about, but like I thought it was done well, and it didn't cross a line that I was like, no, I can't handle that. Like, it's spoilery, so I can't go into it, but it involves Grace. For a minute, I was like, what was the female character's name? Duh, it's in the title. Oh my gosh, I'm a hot mess sometimes. It's been a day today. So there was a plot point with her that I almost was like, this could go really badly. And I thought it was handled well. Yeah. Is this a romance? Maybe, maybe not. But I can tell you this, there is no spice. So I just thought it was a wonderful 5-star read. Then I read, there's a lot of holiday books here. I read The Christmas Tree Farm by Lori Gilmore. This is book 3 in the Dream Harbor series. Now, I really enjoyed Pumpkin Spice Cafe. I DNF'd the Cinnamon Bun Bookstore. And then along came this book, and it's just so pretty. Like, we've got a little dog there. We have, these beautiful end papers. We have beautiful naked cover. So I was like, oh man, I need to have this. But I bought this before I DNF'd the Cinnamon Bun Bookstore. So I get to this and I'm terrified. Will I like this? Will I hate this? And I really did enjoy this one. In this, we follow Bennett and Kira. Kira North hates Christmas, but she wants to reinvent herself. And she's been kind of raised a life of privilege. She is a twin, and kind of has always found her identity in being with people because she's a twin. And so she's like, I need to be independent. So she bought this Christmas tree farm that's really run down. And she doesn't want to rely on her parents' money. Bennett is home. He's working remotely for a time. He's visiting his sister who owns is it Bennett? Yes. His sister owns the Pumpkin Spice Cafe, and they meet, and he very much likes to help people and help fix things for them. And she very much is like, I need to become independent. I tend to rely on other people. So there were times, I'm not going to lie, during this book that I was like, they're very codependent. like they're trying to not be codependent. And Lori Gilmore is trying to write them where they're not being codependent. But they're ending up kind of codependent. And so there was a part of me that was like, I think they just need to go see a therapist. Like, I want them both to see therapists to work on their issues. And they can still date, but they need to see a therapist to work on their issues so they don't become codependent on each other. Because they can easily do that. So, and there are times where I thought they kind of were. But I still really did enjoy this book. I would still give this a 4.5. The reason why I'm knocking it down, I can't give it a 5 because, again, I was like, maybe 4. Again, I was like, they're kind of codependent. But I still, again, it was an enjoyable book. enough for me to continue on to get the next book to see what it is. I am going to wait on the Strawberry Pancake House because it looks really springy, and I'm trying to knock out more prompts with Parkhead, so we're going to wait on that. All right, and then I read Christmas People by Iva Marie Palmer. This I read for a virtual book club. I would give this maybe 2.5 stars. Here's why. So Jill Jacobs she wants to be a screenwriter, and she's got a script that she's worked. She lives in LA. She's got a screen that she's worked, or a screenplay that she's worked. She's got an agent, but she's been having a hard time selling her screenplay. And her agent is like, why don't you write some heartfelt movies? Which is kind of like a Hallmark comp. But she doesn't want to do that because she feels like she would be selling out. But she just has no money. She got fired from her job at like an arcade store. And she has not been back home for 3 years because she doesn't want to run into her ex-boyfriend. Her ex-boyfriend is a chef and moved out to New York. Like, they broke up when he accepted a job out in New York, and she did not follow him. Okay. And one day she finally decides, okay, fine, I'll go home to visit my family. And one day she wakes up and it's like she's in a heartfelt movie, aka Hallmark type movie. Here's why I'm giving it 2.5, maybe 2. Okay, so Powell Park is the title of the town where this story takes place. And it's a suburb of Chicago. And she doesn't want to go, I'm from it's a south suburb of Chicago. I grew up in a south suburb of Chicago. She doesn't want to go home because she's afraid that she's going to run into her ex-boyfriend and run into friends from school, and, the mistakes have been made on her part within those relationships. I'm from the south suburbs of Chicago. I can tell you that I did not run into anyone from high school whenever I went home to visit, unless they were friends that I wanted to see. So, like, her concerns of like, oh my gosh, I'm terrified I'm going to run into them. Like, I didn't understand. Because, like, again, like I said, I didn't run into anyone on breaks. Like, and I've lived in that suburb for 35 years. So I just had a hard time with that. I would buy it if she like lived in a small town, but suburbs by Chicago are not small towns. Yeah. Another thing that's just she was just so whiny and immature. She's 30 years old, whiny, immature, and could not move past and beyond things, and would not let things go. And every solution, all of her solutions to, like, oh man, this problem's coming up, maybe I should have a drink. This problem has come up. Maybe I just want a glass of wine, or I want a cocktail or something. It's like, no. And now, granted, I'm a stress eater. I'm an emotional eater. So, like, I understand turning to things for, like, medicating yourself, like self-medicating, like unhealthy coping skills. Like, I get that. But it was to the point where I was like, does she have a drinking problem? So she just was really unlikable and didn't really change much to become a likable character. And how it was resolved, the ending, it just felt very quick and superficial. So this will be going in my Pango shop. I really wanted to like it, but alas, I did not. Okay, and then I read Everyone This Christmas Has a Secret by Benjamin Stevenson. So this is a holiday novella that comes after book 2. He wrote Everyone in My Family Has Killed Someone and Everyone on This Train is a Suspect. And this is a holiday murder mystery where he's called in to investigate a crime, at a magic show, and his ex-wife is accused of being the murderer. Um, and it's interesting because how at the start, and I didn't realize this, I wish I had known going into it. So there are 24 chapters in this. So like, and he even says like, hey, this is written like you could read one a day, kind of like an advent calendar. So that would have been fun had I known. Um, I would have read this book differently. I probably would have read it like an advent calendar. Alas, I did not. I still enjoyed it. I would give it a 3-star. It was okay. Like, it wasn't great. It was a holiday novella, so there's that. This probably will go in my Pango shop. Will I continue on with the series? Probably. I know a new book is coming out this year, but I'm not going to be like, I have to read it right away. It's a book that I could check out at the library. So that's where I'm at with that series. Then I read Empire Storms by Sarah J. Maas, which is book 6 in the Throne of Glass series, so it's going to be kind of hard to talk about this book. I need to put together, I filmed clips as I was reading it, so, and they're all spoilers. So, I mean, I talk full on what's happening in this book. So we'll see if I can put that together and edit it into a video. We'll see. It'll be my first ever video where I splice together clips. But at any rate, how do I feel about this book? 5 stars. Yeah, I was wrecked. At the ending, I was like, what just happened? I was crying. What just happened? Now, there are people who read Empire of Storms and Tower of Dawn as a tandem read. So both of these books take place, books 6 and 7 take place during the same time period. It just follows different characters. And so someone has figured out like what chapters to read in what order and go back and forth between the 2 books. And I was debating doing that. I chose, nope, I'm going to read it how it was published and understand the pain that the original readers felt. And now I understand why. And after I finished this, I was like, yeah, now I understand why people would prefer the tandem read. Because the ending was, like, I did not see it coming. Did not see what Selena Sardothian chose to do at the end. Did not see that coming. That plot is so twisty-turny. It's like, what? And I don't know how Sarah J. Maas is going to write Selena out of this, the pickle that she's in. Like, I don't know. So I need to start Tower of Dawn as soon as possible because I need to know how this ends. I'm afraid of how it's going to end. I have possibilities of how she could be written out of it. But anyway. All right, and then, for her kid. What did I use this for her kid? I use this for the 600 plus book prompt. And I used it for something else. I used it for spooky creatures because Faye is part of the spooky creatures prompt. It's like, I use this for her kid. And then I read The Millhouse Murders by Yukito Ayatsuji. And this is book 2 in a series. If you're not familiar with this, so he wrote The Decagon House Murders. That's book 1. And it features the same kind of detective person. And these came out in the 80s, where he basically kind of revived the Golden Age detective novel, like Agatha Christie and like Raymond Chandler, things like that. So he kind of revived that genre in Japan. And the Decagon House Murders follows, it's kind of like And Then There Were None. This, The Millhouse Murders, is about Fujinuma Kichi. He was involved in a horrific car accident 12 years ago, and that left his hands horribly scarred, his face horribly scarred, and then it left him paralyzed. Because his face is so scarred, he wears a mask. And because of that, he then decided to build this house called the Mill House and live a life of a recluse. He decided to withdraw from society. His father was a very famous painter and highly sought after. Like, people just want his works. Well, he has been buying his father's works back, and he puts them on display in his house. And once a year, he invites some friends or acquaintances over to the house to view his father's artwork. And a year prior to the events, this is a dual timeline mystery, because a year prior to the start of this novel, there were a couple of murders that happened at the yearly viewing of his father's paintings. And so um, those murders have to be solved, along with present day murders have to be solved. So I didn't enjoy this as much as Decagon House, but I hear book 3, The Labyrinth House Murders, is also really good. So I would give this a 4-star. I did guess who the murderer was. I did guess one of the plot points, but not the whole of the plot, like the whole motivation, how it all was done. I didn't guess that, but I was like, I have a feeling this person is the murderer. So, what was I going to say? Oh, what I use this for the hardest reading challenge you'll ever do. I use this for the translated work, and then I also use this for Around the World for Asia. And then the last book I read was The Realms of the Gods by Tamora Pierce. This is book 4 and the last book in the Immortal series. And I mean, I love this series. This is my favorite series. I would give this a 4.75. And I want to give it a 5, but I have to be honest and say, you know what? There's some times where I don't like quests. And this start of the book, our main characters are kind of separate from the main action that's been going on that we've been following for 3 books. And they're kind of on a quest journey. And sometimes quests work for me, sometimes they don't. In this case, it kind of sort of worked, but not fully. So I can't really explain more without being really spoilery for the whole series. So let me go back and start with like what this series is about. So in book 1, our main character, Dane, she is 13 years old, and she is kind of on the run from the town that she grew up in for a variety of reasons that are spoilery, that are revealed as the plot unfolds. And Dane has a really good gift, a talent of speaking with animals and knowing them and understanding them. And she gets hired on by the Queen's rider's horse trainer. And she gets hired on to work with the horses. And she befriends the horse trainer, Onua, and she befriends a mage named Numair. And Numair, he teaches her about this wild magic that she has, her special gift and ability that she has to speak with and work with animals. And as we progress through the series, that gift, she discovers all sorts of different abilities and things that she's able to do with that magic. This book has a plot point that some might find problematic. I don't really find it problematic. So this is going to be kind of spoilery. I'll put my hand up so that way you'll know what the spoileries are. Okay. And then when the hand is down, I'm done talking spoilery. Okay. So here's what some people find problematic. Numair is the mage in this story that's been teaching her. He's 30. She's now 16 in this book. They fall in love. Now, people find that problematic because of the age difference. I should note there is no sex. They kiss passionately, but there's no sex. And he actually gets, like, he blushes furiously, like, she gets injured and she takes off her shirt to take care of the injuries, like, in front of him. And she's wearing, like, a band. And he is like, oh my gosh, what are you doing? Like, she's like, I'm covered up. Like, I've got a band on. Like, it's okay. Okay. Other people might say, like, oh, he's in a position of power over her. Look, how many adult romances, and now granted, this is a young adult book, right? But how many adult romances have I read where it's a billionaire falling in love and sleeping with, like, their personal assistants, or their secretary, or a billionaire who's sleeping with the nanny. Like, that's a common trope, okay? How many romances have I read where there's an age gap like this? Okay. Now, here's the deal. There is no sex in there. They kiss. And he even mentions, like, look, like, I'm older than you. I'm worried. I don't want you to, like, wake up and find out that you're with an old man. Another thing too, like, this is written in the Middle Ages, like 16 and 30, like, that was common in the Middle Ages. Like, so to me, that didn't creep me out. Like, if it were written as a modern time kind of thing, and we're supposed to be rooting for this romance in a modern time, I'd be like, that is not okay. That is illegal. We got problems. But I felt like this was handled tactfully and well. And I love Numair. And Tamora Pierce does address the romance factor in an afterword in here. So she does talk about that and her reasonings behind it. So yeah, like, I get it. I understand why people might find it problematic. I do. Like, I grew up reading Emily of New Moon, and there's a problematic love interest in there too. So, uh, I don't know. Yeah. So I just wanted to preface that if you're reading this and you've got teenagers reading this, you just might want to talk to them about that. All right, spoilers done. So those were all the books that I read in January or December. We're in January. Oh my gosh. So those are the books that I read in December. Let's talk about how I've been doing with my reading stats in my library. Okay, so I hauled quite a lot of books. I hauled like 19 books, I think. It was a lot. I did get rid of some books, and I'm actually going to be getting rid of, for sure, I'm getting rid of Christmas People and the Benjamin Stevenson books, so that's good. At the beginning of December, I owned 805 books. Even with the amount of books that I hauled, I did a good job unhauling books this month as well. And at the end of the month, I now own 796. So I'm down 9 books. That's good. I unhauled a good amount. So at the beginning of the month, oh, and also I should add too, I did go through my spreadsheet and I noticed, like, ooh, I found a good amount of books that I had gotten rid of that I thought I had deleted on my spreadsheet, and then I hadn't. So at the beginning of the month, I had 335 books read. At the end of the month, I have 333 books read on my library. So that's because I hauled more books. At the beginning of the month, I had 470 books unread. I now have 463 books unread. So my percentage of unread books in my library went from 58.39% unread, and is now 58.17% unread. So it's down by 0.2%. So not great. I mean, it didn't go up, so that's good news. It didn't go up. But I want the number to go down. But it didn't go up. So now next year, it is doable where I could hit the 50% mark. But it also really means that I really have to significantly watch how much watch what I take in. And this January, I already have 6 books ordered that are coming to me. 3 were from Pango Books. No. 7 books that are coming to me. 4 are from Pango Books. Oh, I have more than that. I don't know. I have some books coming to me from Pango. And then I've ordered 2 Book of the Month books and 2 Aardvark books. So yeah, it's okay. But but the Pango orders were books that I'm going to use for hardest reading challenge I'll ever do. So it's okay. It's okay. What was your favorite book that you read in December? Did you read any holiday books? If so, what were they? I'm always looking for good like holiday reads. There's so many. There's so many, and needing to know what to prioritize. Talk to you later. Happy New Year.